What's up, guys? Welcome to workout number 12. We have an upper body day today, working in a unilateral format. So we're doing a one-arm floor press, just making sure that our right arm is as strong as our left arm, or vice versa, our left arm is as strong as our right arm, ensuring that we are symmetrically strong and moving properly according to our joint structure from our left side and our right side. So we're looking for any overcompensations here, and the only way that we can do that is by isolating one of those arms and forcing the other one to work independently from the other arm. So we're going to get ourselves warmed up here with our upper body day. We have 2 rounds. We're going to start with a supine pull apart, basically just turning our hands upright as much as we can, pulling apart. If you have a band for this, you can use it. Otherwise, we just can use the weight of our hands. We're going to follow that up with 10 scapular push-ups, just making sure that the scaps are moving properly. And we're going to do 10 scapular cars, making sure that our shoulder blades are able to move equally and independently from the rest of our body. So we're not getting use out of our spine out of those. We're just using our shoulder blades. And then we're going to follow that up with 8 strong push-ups using all those tools that we kind of worked on with the pull apart, the scap push-ups, the weighted cars, or the scap cars. And then we're going to move into our push-ups, making everything move together as one unit. So we'll start this off. We got 2 rounds of this warm-up, starting everything off with a supine pull-apart. What I'm looking for is your palms to face upright, thumbs to turn out as much as you can. You're going to touch your pinkies together. Note that my arms are just off of my shoulder, so they're not down low, they're not up super high. They're immediately off my shoulder, just straight out from my body. Hands are turned as much as I possibly can, so I'm wringing out as much supination as I can. I'm going to pull those guys apart until I run out of room, and then I'm going to pull my hands back together. So as I do my 10, I'm going to turn sideways and make sure that you guys can see my arms are basically on a shelf here. As I pull back, my shoulder blades are pulling together. I'm still fighting for more and more supination. You at home do not have to turn like I'm turning in a 360. You just have to stay in place and make sure that those shoulder blades are squeezing together. After 10 of them, those arms might be a little tired from being supinated so much, and then up as high as we can get them straight off of our shoulder. We're going to move into scapular push-ups. So same thing here, trying to isolate the shoulder blades, just trying to squeeze those shoulder blades together and then pushing through and getting as much extension out of the shoulder blades as we can. So I'm going to get myself in a push-up position, push all the way up so I'm as high as I possibly can, and then I'm going to depress the shoulder blades as much as possible. Protract, depress. So basically pushing through the floor, pulling the shoulder blades together. Notice in these that my elbows are not bending at all, and I'm not moving from the hips either. So I don't want to see movement coming from here, as those are not our shoulder blades or our scaps. Go ahead and give me 10 of those, and then we're going to move to scapular cars. So cars stands for controlled articular rotations. Basically what that means is it's a very controlled and deliberate circle with whatever body part is listed before the cars. So for these guys, it's scapular cars. Our scap is all right in here, okay? This is our scapula. We have them on both sides, and what this part of our body should be able to do is it should be able to press forward, should be able to pull up, should be able to pull back, should be able to pull all the way down, and then it should be able to come back forward. So the circle that we're trying to make is, if I had my hand out in front of me, I'm basically drawing as big of a circle as I can with my hand without getting this motion from my elbow, without getting this motion from my thoracic or my upper body. So what I'm going to have you guys do is just both scaps at the same time, putting both your hands out in front of you. What helps is if you have like a pillow or something that you can hold onto at home, just grabbing onto a light object, squeezing onto that object, and we're going to do 10 of these together. So I'll do 5 from the side, and then I'll turn forwards so you guys can see the movement in the rest of my body. So arms are out in front of me. I'm going to start by pulling my shoulders up to my ears, pulling my shoulder blades back, pulling them down, pushing forward. You can do these standing, you can do them kneeling, you can do them sitting on the floor, whatever way that you are making as smooth of a circle as you possibly can. That's 5. I'm gonna stop and go the other direction. But for you guys, I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see what they would look like standing. So I'm gonna stop, go the other direction, making sure that just this movement is coming only from the shoulder blades. There's nothing else moving. I'm not getting any use out of this lumbar curve or my low back. I'm not moving my upper body. So locking everything in and just moving those shoulder blades. What I see a lot of is a winged scap. So I have a lot of people who will have their shoulder blades here, and just from a weakness, an overcompensation pattern, holding an object on one side of your body. I kind of have this from holding a hockey bag on my shoulder for 23 years of playing ice hockey. My shoulder blade likes to kind of sit up a little bit higher on this right side. So what you'll notice in this is sometimes in that circle, we'll be moving nice and smooth, and then we get to a point and your arm just basically wants to skip out of it, or it juts forward, or an elbow wants to bend. That's why you need to go slow to kind of notice these overcompensation patterns so we can work on them at other points of time. So we have 10 scap cars, and then we have 5 each way and 5 the other way. And we're gonna go into our push-ups and just working on those shoulder blades protracting and squeezing back together. I'm gonna get my hands set underneath my shoulders, squeeze my quads, squeeze my abs, squeeze my butt, bring my chest down to the ground, making sure that my elbows are going down to the side of my body and not out. I'm gonna do 4 of these, and then turning towards you guys. This is what I see a lot of, is the elbows going out. I want the elbows going straight back, chest is hitting the floor every single rep. My bag is out in front of me, so if you guys don't have that at home, you should be able to see that my chest is hitting the floor every round. Go ahead and give me one more round of that. 10 supine pull-aparts, 10 scap push-ups, 10 scap cars, 5 each direction, 8 push-ups, nice and smooth, 2 rounds. All right, guys, we're gonna move into our strength stuff for the day, our strength programming. We have 5 sets of 8 reps, bridge floor press, and this is gonna be 8 reps on each side. So I'm gonna do 8 reps, 3-second negative on each of those reps, making sure that I'm controlling the weight, but also paying attention to the direction that my arm is going. So as I push up in a floor press, what I should be seeing is my elbow comes down to the side of my body. Once my elbow and my tricep is hitting the floor, I should have this nice smooth angle of my humerus. So my shoulder going down, elbow staying nice and bent. So if I looked at this and then I turn my body over, it'd be very similar to the push-ups that I was just having you guys focus on. I do not want to see the floor press with the elbow out to this side, because we get a lot of pinch points in here and a lot of overuse from that rotator cuff rather than use from our pec and our shoulder. So just make sure that the elbows are staying down nice and steady. When we do have a 3-second negative, you can really control where the path that you're taking that dumbbell is going to be. So we have 8 reps on each side, and then in between that, or after that, we're going to do 3 sets of 8 seated presses, and that's going to be with 2 arms going at the same time. One object. I'm going to basically use this weighted backpack for the entire workout today. So if you have limited resources at home, go and just stack a bunch of books in a backpack. You can get this thing to weigh up to around like 50 pounds if you really wanted it to be that heavy. Since most of our things are done with 1 arm today, I don't need anything that's super, super heavy, just moderate weight. This was about somewhere around 20 pounds. I'm gonna get started in my bridge floor press. Again, I have 5 sets of 8 of these each arm before I can move on to the seated presses. So this is not a superset. I'm gonna finish all 5 sets, and then I will move on to my seated press. In this floor press, I do want us holding a bridge. So feet are gonna stay bent, and I'm gonna take my hips up off the floor. So once my legs come off the ground and hips reach up off the floor, as I bring that weight down, my torso, my glutes, my hamstring, these are all the things that are going to keep my body in alignment, okay? So if I don't pay attention to those and the weight starts coming down, my body's going to roll off to the side with that. I have to compensate for that by making sure that everything in my torso, in my legs, in my hamstring stays nice and strong. So for this, since it is a 1-arm movement, I'm just going to grab tight to this bag, find a nice balance point, bring my hips up, Gonna come down. This arm can just, your opposite arm can just either stay up in the air. You can push it down on the floor, whatever's most comfortable for you. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, tap my elbow, press back up. 1, 2, 3, tap my elbow, press back up. 1, 2, 3, tap it, press it back up. I am going to do that for 8 reps. I'll show you what the other arm looks like and what we will start to notice once we have a strong arm and a weak arm, or an arm that has one of those winged shoulder blades. We might find discrepancy in the movement pattern from one side to another. So you're gonna bring those hips up, keep that weight nice and stacked. If you have an object like mine, you may have to kind of reassess and re-grip as we go. I'm gonna bring those arms down. 1, 2, 3, press up, keeping my hips up, keeping my abs tight. 1, 2, 3, press up. You will find that as you come down, that arm is going to get more and more fatigued the deeper we get into those sets. Since we are moving from one arm to the other arm, back to that first arm, you should not have to rest that much in between, because as my right arm is working, my left arm is resting. As my left arm is resting, my right arm is working. Go ahead and give me 5 sets of 8 of those bridge, hips up, one arm floor presses. Good work, guys. Doing good so far. We have 3 sets of 8 seated presses to finish off our strength component. Whatever weighted object that you have at home, if you have 2 dumbbells, great. If they're different sizes, totally fine. Just go ahead and do 4 reps and then switch arms. Okay, working with different weighted objects, heavier on one side, lighter on the other, and forcing them to move at the same speed is also super beneficial for your body to figure out how to move, because very few times in normal life are we picking up things that are equally weighted on each side of our body. So we have to kind of work on these things, and what better time to do it if we are stuck at home having to work out with limited resources. So what I'm gonna do is I'm using my backpack. I'm gonna hold this weight at my chest. If you have a kettlebell, you can hold this goblet style at your chest. If you have a med ball or a slam ball at home, same thing, just holding it with 2 hands, pressing up and bringing that ball or weight back to a full range of motion. This is going to show me how good of a range of motion your overhead mobility is, because if I don't stay stacked up in my torso and I'm not able to keep my legs out straight in front of me, what is gonna end up happening when I go into my press is this. Okay, so we lean back, I kind of roll back, I lose that torso stability. The weight is now out in front of me because I don't have the ability to open up that thoracic spine and bring myself to a full range of motion. So if you have a hard time with this and you notice that you're like leaning back and slouching back, just go ahead and prop yourself up against the wall. So if I lean back, even if I'm here and I lean back into the rig post, I can press without having my back overcompensate. So I'll show you that on the wall. I can lean back into the wall, bring my hips a little bit further away from the wall, weight starts here, and now I use that wall to kind of mitigate my poor range of motion. We'll work on that shoulder mobility. One thing that will help start open that up is doing our kin stretch classes, doing your shoulder cars every day, doing your scapular cars every day, just continuing to work on that homework. But one of the things that this program is meant to do is to kind of magnify weaknesses, discrepancies, poor range of motion, asymmetry, so things that are different from one side to the other. That's what this program is targeted to do. So if we find those things, don't just skip through them, don't speed through them. What I want to see is, wow, I have a really hard time with this. My shoulder, my upper back mobility might be suffering. I'm not going to overload the weight. I'm going to take a step back, kind of regress my movements into something that I actually can move properly. And then we'll like pinpoint where that range of motion issue is happening, that weakness is happening, or the discrepancy. So just make a note of it so then we can improve on it instead of just skipping over it. All right, so we're gonna start, get off my soapbox there. I'm gonna start doing my 3 sets of 8 seated presses. I'm gonna get my weight up at my chest, figure out a point where that weight's not gonna move around, especially if you have like a sandbag or a backpack. Weight starts out in front of me. I'm gonna press, and then I'm gonna come down nice and steady. Pressing back up, come down nice and steady. Keep pulling your elbows together. So what I mean by that, as I turn towards you, I don't want your elbows to go like this, but I do want them active, basically making your forearms like statues. So one forearm is not winging out to the side, one elbow is not winging out to the side, keeping everything moving in a straight line. I have 3 sets of 8 of those because we are using both of your arms. Give yourself about 30-second break in between each of your sets. Go and give me those 3 sets of 8 now, pause the tape, and then join me back for the Metcon. Okay guys, welcome back to the Metcon for today. We have 5 rounds. Each round is going to consist of a 1-block run. If you do not feel like going outside today, just go ahead, or if it's raining, just go ahead and give me 20 burpees instead of that 1-block run. Yes, I know burpees are horrible. If you get to the point and those arms start just like totally giving out on you, you can go ahead and make them, we call them nerpies. So they're no push-up burpees. You can just give me one of these instead of a burpee, and I will count that, but only if your arms are just totally gassed. Otherwise, you got 1-block run. You're gonna come back in from your run. We have 5 bent over rows with a 3-second negative in those bent over rows, 10 weighted swings, and then 10 one-arm overhead lunges, and that's going to be each arm. Okay, so you'll basically be doing 20 lunge steps with your legs, 10 each leg, but you're going to switch after 10 repetitions of our overhead lunge. I'll go over that with you. Let's touch on each of these movements before we get started into the Metcon. 5 rounds, 1-block run. Just take things nice and steady. Make sure you pay attention to drop-offs and curbs, that you're not going to jump off of them and roll your ankles. So just take the run nice and steady. This is almost like a jog pace. When you get back in from that run, what I want to see in these bent over rows is getting your weights, whatever they are. I have a book in here with some weights kind of stacked up on it. So I'm going to get my book to be on the bottom portion of this. I'm going to bend my hips back, keep my chest nice and strong, keep my back straight. Pull up to the chest, 1, 2, 3. Back down, 1, 2, 3. Really overutilize and overemphasize those shoulder blades pulling back as I squeeze that weight up to my chest. Coming down nice and steady for 3 seconds. We have 5 reps of those. Weighted swings. This idea came from basically a kettlebell swing. So if you have a kettlebell at home, awesome. You guys can go ahead and give me 10 total reps of a kettlebell swing, pushing the hips back, bringing the weight back forward. So making sure that you're not squatting as the weight is coming down. If you have a light kettlebell, you can take these overhead. If you have a heavy kettlebell, take them up to the eye level. If you have a dumbbell, what we can do, I actually have a dumbbell in here. What we can do is hold the dumbbell by the head, by the rubber head, bring the weight back between your hips, and swing that weight forward, okay? So I don't want to see this overhead because this is going to be much harder to balance than a kettlebell. Just bring them up to eye level. Still getting the same motion from the hips, coming back, squeezing the glutes at top, making sure that weight comes up to the eye level. If you have an object like mine, where you just have a bunch of stuff thrown in a backpack, I'm going to hold on to that bag, make sure that it has space to move between my legs. I'm going to bring that weight back and use my hips to propel the weight out in front of me, okay? Since this has a little more slack, that extension, it is going to take the weight a little bit more time to come up. So it is going to feel a little bit different than a normal kettlebell swing. Just take it nice and slow. Maybe give me a couple reps right now to test it out, see how it feels. If you want to add weight to it, add weight to it. But do note that if you do have one object, you have to bent over row this same object. After our 10 weighted swings, we have 10 one-arm overhead lunges. For me, I'm going to take my backpack by the handle, bring this up and overhead, and keep the weight back behind my body. For me, this is the most comfortable way to hold this backpack. I'm going to take a lunge step forward with my right leg. It'll be 1 rep. 1 rep. Okay? 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. I'm gonna bring that weight down, switch sides, and then keep alternating legs. All right, so you give me 10 full lunges on the right side, 10 full lunges on the left side. After I'm done with that, that's one round. Repeat it. Go ahead and go out for your run. As I catch my breath here, I'm gonna get myself situated to do one round of this so you guys can see what this movement looks like, or what this workout looks like. All right, guys, I'm gonna start my workout. We have our 5 rounds, 1 block run. I'm gonna do 20 burpees since I don't wanna just leave the camera. 5 bent over rows, 10 weighted swings, 10 one arm overhead lunges. I'm gonna get going into this. You can do round 1 with me if you want. Otherwise, just go ahead, pause the tape, and start on your own. I'm gonna start here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Getting these 20 burpees, guys. After my 20 burpees, I have 5 bent over rows. Ten weighted swings. Into the heat of the night, yeah, alright, do it again. You should have seen it come. 10 overhead lunges, each arm. One round done. Give me 4 more. All right, guys, if you want to join me for the finisher, we have a little bit more upper body work just to get the arms kind of gassed out for the rest of the day. 3 rounds, 6 push-ups, 10 one arm rear delt raises, getting those shoulders, basically pulling everything back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. We can have a bent elbow in these. What this is gonna look like, 6 push-ups just like we practiced in our warm-up. Bring the chest down, keeping the body upright. After I'm done with 6, you can go ahead and take your weighted object that you were using for the day. I'm gonna keep a little bend in my elbow, same bent over row position, squeezing that shoulder blade out and back. This weight is a little too heavy for me, so what I'm gonna do, if I need to, just go ahead and grab something out of that bag. Happens to be a dumbbell, And then I'm gonna give the rest of my bent over rows. Aiming to pull that elbow back towards my side. I'm gonna give 10 reps on each side. If I'm turning towards you, you guys can see that weight moving out to the side of my body. Keeping that elbow tucked into the side. This is aimed to work at your rhomboids, coming all the way down the middle of that back, all the way back up into the traps. Give me 3 rounds of that. Way to work today, way to pump, keep moving.